4 poprzednie lata to ponad 470 wydarzeń, to 5000 wystawców, to mnóstwo ciekawych przedsięwzięć realizowanych wspólnie pomiędzy przedsiębiorcami, którzy tutaj właśnie spotkali się w tym obiekcie, debatowali i szukali konstruktywnych rozwiązań do kwestii, które stawiała im bieżąca rzeczywistość.
Obiekt jest w pełni przystosowany do organizacji najbardziej nawet wymagających projektów. Zasięg i jakość tych wydarzeń, a także liczba osób uczestniczących przyczyniły się do promocji nie tylko samego obiektu, ale także całego regionu podkarpackiego i to można powiedzieć na arenie międzynarodowej.
G2 Arena po 4 latach to silna, energiczna współpraca pomiędzy operatorem obiektu a partnerem instytucjonalnym, jakim jest województwo podkarpackie.
Ten obiekt wyraźnie udowodnił swoją przydatność do tego typu wydarzeń. Przypomnę, do wydarzeń na miarę naszego kraju.
Innowacyjny, nowoczesny partner tytularny, firma G2A, która działa na całym świecie i prężnie rozwija swój biznes w świecie internetowym.
Bycie partnerem tytularnym tak prominentnego obiektu jak G2A Arena to dla mnie i dla całej grupy G2A zaszczyt. Arena trzyma światowe standardy.
G2 Arena jest obecna w różnego typu mediach i w różnych szerokościach geograficznych, począwszy od regionu Podkarpacia, poprzez media ogólnopolskie typu TVN, Forbes czy Rzeczpospolita, po media zagraniczne. Byliśmy obecni w Nowym Jorku, w Buffalo, w Miami czy w Londynie. To wszystko sprawia, że jako pierwszy tego typu obiekt w regionie przecieramy tutaj niejako szlaki, realizując wydarzenia na tak szeroką skalę. Podkarpacie jest niejednokrotnie dostrzegane przez ludzi z różnych zakątków świata przez pryzmat właśnie G2 Arena.
I must say I'm really impressed. It's very nice, it's open, it's modern, yet still it has the opportunity to craft small spaces like our own. So I must say this is quite stunning.
G2 Arena to również 24 ambasadorów. Radzimy się ich, dyskutujemy z nimi. Są to eksperci z różnych branż, którzy dowiedli w ramach tych części gospodarki, w jakich funkcjonują, że są liderami i zebrali maksymalne kompetencje w tym zakresie.
This was fantastic, and I think of the level of almost anywhere else I've ever seen. Spectacular, brilliant, modern.
To centrum G2 Arena to było centrum spotkań dla biznesu i nadal nim będzie. W nasze wydarzenia wchodzą innowacje. Staramy się digitalizować naszą treść, czyli docierać szerzej poza mury tego obiektu. Praktycznie każde wydarzenie w ostatnim okresie jest transmitowane, jest streamowane i jest w stanie docierać szeroko na cały świat.
Wciąż udoskonalamy nasze uzbrojenie techniczne. Jest to istotne zwłaszcza teraz, kiedy z powodu pandemii koronawirusa w coraz większym stopniu przenosimy się do świata wirtualnego.
Przyszłość będzie stanowić całkowicie nowy rozdział dla G2 Arena. Przyszłość da szansę na coś więcej. Pojawią się wydarzenia o charakterze rozrywkowym. Naszym celem i naszym pragnieniem jest to, żeby to miejsce tętniło życiem z perspektywy koncertów, imprez o charakterze rozrywkowym, stand-upów, wydarzeń sportowych. Ufamy, że miejsce, tak jak i do tej pory, będzie towarzyszyło i nadawało pewien rytm dla całego regionu i stanowiło jego wizytówkę, jak również narzędzie do promocji na przyszłość.
Witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie z G2 Arena, Centrum Wystawniczo-Kongresowego Województwa Podkarpackiego, skąd nadajemy konferencję 60 Million Live, czyli 60 Million People w tym przypadku. Tak naprawdę online'owe przedłużenie kongresu 60 milionów. Docieramy dzięki temu na cały świat, do Polonii, do 20 milionów Polonii, która żyje na całym świecie, aby przekazać ciekawe wieści od osób, które żyją w różnych krajach i bądź są związani z Polonią, bądź właśnie z niej pochodzą, aby pokazać ciekawe sylwetki i aby pokazać, jak szeroko nasi rodacy żyją i mieszkają na całym świecie. Szanowni Państwo, format People to są rozmowy 1 na 1. Dziś gościem naszym specjalnym będzie Peter Novak ze Stanów Zjednoczonych, a rozmowę przeprowadzi nasz zaprzyjaźniony moderator Juliusz Kłosowski, historyk z wykształcenia, dziennikarz z zawodu, absolwent Uniwersytetu Warszawskiego, wydawca The Words of Voice. A żeby nie odbierać mu roli prowadzącego dzisiejsze spotkanie i mam nadzieję, że przedstawi właśnie Petera Novaka, oddaję mu głos. Juliuszu, czy się słyszymy?
Świetnie, świetnie się słyszymy.
Świetnie, Juliusz, zatem oddaję Ci głos. Życzę Wam wspaniałej rozmowy. I cóż, no czas dla Was.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to switch to English because we are going to talk in English. By the way, I did not ask you, Pete. Are you speaking any Polish?
I know enough to be dangerous. I'm actually taking lessons now because if I can't get to Poland, I might as well come back to Poland and surprise all my business associates and friends.
Okay, let me start with the beginning. Hi, everybody there. I mean, welcome to another episode of Hello People. This is a series of interviews, or rather, I would say, conversations with prominent, successful, and first of all, happy members of Polonii around the world, Polish diaspora around the world. 60 Million Congress is hosting this event. I am Juliusz Kłosowski, publisher of The Words of Voice, published since 1988, the first English language media in Poland. And our guest is Peter Novak, businessman, investor, philanthropist, and coach. We'll speak about that in a minute or so. As you can imagine, this is kind of long-distance call or conversation or connection, since I'm sitting in my home in Serotsk near Warsaw, beautiful city of that. And Pete is not in Connecticut, I would expect to. He's in Vermont.
Yes.
So another couple of hundred miles away. How is weather in Vermont?
Well, the weather is beautiful, and it hasn't rained very much, but it's been very, very, very nice this summer. It's been amazing. We really had a chance to enjoy the family. I think that's the good side of COVID, is that I think we've spent more time with our family, which I think is positive.
Yeah, there are always good sides of everything.
Yes.
Sorry, that's right. We had much more time for our families, for our friends, that's for sure. But also work changed a lot, and not always, let's say, in a positive way. I mean, I asked you about the weather over there. Of course, I should say that we have also very nice summer in Poland. So here, right now, this is September, we have 20 degrees, which is not usual this part of the year, not very usual. Nice sunny weather. Pete, your name sounds very Polish. Novak is one of most popular names.
Yes.
That's for sure. Since how long your family, Novak, are in United States?
Well, I am a third generation Polish American. My grandparents, both of my grandparents came in the early 1900s, between I think it was 1898 and 1901. I actually went to Ellis Island and found the ship records, which I actually have on the wall behind me. And they both came to the U.S. And it's interesting. It asks how much money did you bring, and they both had $1 in their pocket when they arrived.
Rather typical, situation with the immigrants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, my wife is Polish too, 100% Polish, and she's actually more Polish than me because she's second generation. And her parents came after the war. My father-in-law's side, he lived in Vilna. He was exiled to Siberia as a child. And my mother-in-law lived in Warsaw, and her father died in Terezin, work camp.
It's part of Polish history in your family, I see.
Yes.
Siberia, 19th
Yes.
century immigration, which means during time when Poland did not officially exist, in fact.
Correct.
It was a difficult time, and of course, I mean, also typical situation for Poles who decided to emigrate to find better.
And my parents' side, both are from the same area. They're from Eastern Poland and near Międzyrzec and Podlaski. So I've been there several times, and they're from a village called Baba, which I actually did find.
Villages, that's for sure. You know, during the time your roads business, not one in the United States. Would you tell us your professional life?
My career has actually been very interesting because on LinkedIn you could see that I'm very tall. My friends in Poland call me 2-meter Peter. So I was a basketball player, really focused on because my father was in construction. He was in his own business, but I realized I grew up in a Polish neighborhood. I only knew Polish people growing up until I went to secondary school. But I wanted to be a basketball player to get a scholarship. So I played basketball. What?
How tall are you?
6'6" or 2 meters.
Quiet, yeah.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I played college basketball, and then I actually got a degree in psychology, and I was a social worker. So and we'll talk a little bit more about this, my unique ability is really people and motivating people. So what ended up happening is I got into the financial services business. And if you look in my career, I grew a very large financial services company. We started out with 3 employees and roughly 20 people. We ended up in which I sold to my partner last year. And we had roughly 300 employees, and we did from 1 million in commissions, 1 million in revenue to about 60 million when I left. So that was the primary cornerstone that gave me the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. So as I sit here today, I am I consult businesses in the U.S. Regarding distribution and management styles, because the world, as you know, is changing, and it's a people-first world we're in right now. And I'm a big believer in. I have a hard problem with the word manager, because manager means to make someone accountable, and I kind of view my sales team when I owned the company as coaches, because the definition of coach really is to make someone better. So that's what I'm doing in the United States. And in Poland,
this is in Poland as well.
Well, that's really my focus. I would say 100% of my focus is really in Poland, because number one, I really love Poland. I am very, very patriotic in a sense that my father taught me to be proud to be Polish in a time when people looked down upon Polish people and made fun of them. So he always told me to, keep my head up and be proud. And I think back on that, because that really got me in a different mindset. And the other thing that was very important in my life was, and I reflected upon this, is that I grew up as an entrepreneur, witnessing an entrepreneur, because my grandfather, when he came to Poland, he never really had a job, but he was an investor. He ended up owning a lot of real estate as a child. And I remember being with him. And I said to myself, how does this man have money, but he could spend time with me? So I used to be with him. And then on my dad's side, my grandfather was an engineer, but he was also an investor too. And in those days in the Polish communities, if you were going to have a startup business, they went to a group of men and they asked them for money. And my grandfather funded the Polish Funeral Home and a couple other businesses at that time. So if I think about my early training and witnessing, people having flexibility and growing a business, I think that goes back to that time. So if I think about what I'm doing in Poland right now, it really got started. I'm on the board of a university called Quinnipiac University. It's in Connecticut. It's near Yale University, and it's probably one of the fastest growing universities in the United States. It's actually one of 17 universities that has a school of engineering, and it has a medical school. So I got involved, got on the board, and I wanted to do something in the name of my parents and my in-laws. So I endowed a Polish chair at Quinnipiac University. And a friend of mine told me,
Polish people, it might understand what kind of institution it is. What do you take care of?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit on your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. So my question is a little bit solely, okay? Probably there is something with the connection. Would you please explain about founding Polish church? What does it mean? Because it's not usual, in Europe to found the church, okay?
Well, what I did in the typical, most people would think of a chair is that when you endow a chair, what happened was I gave $1 million to Quinnipiac University and they matched it. So the chair is $2 million, and what it did, it endowed an academic position. And what I wanted it to be is not to be a research chair. I wanted it to be a progressive chair in order to help relations between, to help Polish. My goal was to make Poland be better, even if it took one person at a time. It was going to be my way to give back, because I would not be where I am today if I wasn't Polish, and I saw the hardship my parents went through, my in-laws, the story that they have, and it's given me the fight in my life. So what I did was I wanted it to be a progressive chair. So we started out giving scholarships for students to come to Poland, get their MBA, work in U.S. corporations, get the intellectual capital, and go back. Mm-hmm. That was successful, but it wasn't enough. And we got together last year. We were affiliated with the business school, and now the chair is right under the provost of the university, because look at us right now. I'm talking to many countries. And Quinnipiac has a medical school, has a school of education, has an engineering school, has a innovation hub, has a game design hub. So what we're doing right now is we're collaborating with different universities so the US students and the Polish students could collectively work together and do amazing things. And then the second part about it is I realized that the United States is not as cool a place to be right now. And there are a lot of Americans that are saying, hey, maybe there's another place where I could really, really have an impact and start a business and be successful. And what we're doing now is we have a Polish studies program we developed. And what we also did on top of that is we do student exchanges, because if you think about it, let's say the game design hub at Quinnipiac University, and they're working with a game design hub at a university in Poland, and then they visit in the summer, who knows what can happen? They may stay and they may do something amazing. So I'm pretty excited about that. But what that also did for me was I spent a lot of time, I got very involved in the chair, and me being the entrepreneur I am, I saw a gap happening in Poland. And the gap is that I was in Poland in 1983. I was a crazy person. I wanted to be a part of the change. So I got on an airplane and I was there the summer of '83. So I remember the food lines. I remember everything. So over 29 years, we've gone from that point, which there was nothing, to walking in the store. And if you didn't look at the street signs, the stores are the same. There's a lot of choice in everything. So when you're looking at management styles and when you're looking at talking to the customer, it's not a one-way street anymore. Okay, it's a highway. And I had a relationship with a person in the United States, and they started this company called Integrity Solutions. And what Integrity Solutions is training managers and customer service people and salespeople to understand who they're talking to based upon their social style and how that affects the sales process. So I now am owner and president, and I'm very excited about it, of Integrity Solutions Poland. And I wanted to make it excuse me.
Peter, did you invest in this company?
Yeah, well, I brought it to Poland. I'm the owner and founder. I have a co-owner, and we have a sales team now. And what we're doing is we're bringing this to the marketplace. And everybody we're bringing into the marketplace is they're seeing dramatic change in the attitudes of how the managers are speaking to their employees, and the other and sales are going up because the sales people are understanding the social style of the person and how it affects the conversation. So what I wanted to do is make it very affordable, because my experience has always told me when I owned my own business is that when you hire somebody to train you to sell or help you with coaching, you have to keep hiring them. And what we do, if the company is big enough, we train someone in the company so they don't need us anymore. So I'm really excited about that, because I want to help Poland. And then the second piece of what I'm doing in Poland is I'm coaching owners of companies, because especially startups, because we can leverage Quinnipiac University to bring technology and resources at no cost and take my expertise in business. So I'm kind of leveraging everything. And the biggest thing that I would say is what's really been, if you're to characterize who I am, is I'm a builder, I'm a connector, and I'm a giver. Because once you give, you change people's attitudes towards you. And by me helping Poland and doing the right thing is that I really create a sense of authenticity. And I think in a time, authenticity is extremely important.
Yeah. What do you think about market? Since you decided, I understand that good part of you.
I have to say that I'm still getting a breakup in the questions you're asking me.
Okay. Again, try it again.
Yeah.
Think about market. Is it attractive to American?
Okay. What's very interesting, the Polish market, I'm very active in Polonia. I'm on the board of the Kosciuszko Foundation.
As I remember, you are connected to the foundation since very early.
Yeah, it's very funny. We had a conversation about this yesterday. Is that I was so passionate about reading about Poland, but there were no books printed when I was growing up. So I ended up going to the library, and I found out, I was like 11 years old, about the Kosciuszko Foundation. And I have to say, I saved my own money, and I became a member by giving them $10 and when I was about 11 years old. So here I am now on the board. But I think that what's very interesting about the US market, the people that are non-Polish, is that they still, Poland after the war, was occupied, and during that period of time, whether it be some sort of propaganda was out there, is that, Poland was a third world country. So even today, I'll have conversations with people about Poland, and they think that, you know, Poland is still way behind. And I then share with them that I love it so much that I have an apartment in Powiśla. I've told them how much I miss being there. I feel that Poland is my second home in my life. But from a business perspective, that tends to have to be overcome first. And second of all is that if you have a good idea, you really have to find and do the research and find the right people to talk to. So yes, they are Polish people wanting to come here, but US people going to Poland, it's still for medium and startup companies, it's still not well understood yet.
Yeah, Peter, you do a lot to promote Poland in your way. There is a lot of effort, but I'm sure there is also a lot to be done by other institutions. What do you think? And first of all, what should be done to change the image of Poland you are talking about?
I have a theory in because I read a lot about World War II history, and there seems to be, you know, obviously in order to win the war, we had to take sides with Russia, and I think there was somewhat of a propaganda piece after the war, because there was never an explanation about, for instance, until recently a book came out on the start of World War II. No one quite understood anything regarding to that. And then for some unknown reason, there are things that were not entirely true. So I think the Polish government needs to create more of a PR perspective in terms of what Poland is today. Because a lot of people don't know that. I mean, I have a friend of mine who lives next door, and he's he manages a $1 billion fund with a major financial institution, and they're not investing in Poland right now. And I constantly get in a discussion with him about that, and it's just not understood. It's just not understood. Yeah.
Is the best way to convince them just to bring them to Poland and show them how the country looks like, how it operates?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It is also probably the most difficult question, because I mean, how to convince someone like you are talking about to come to, I mean, to invest time, invest effort to come to the country.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. There's Polish soccer as an example. I had an opportunity to become a partner and get some investors in it. And I think from a long-term investment, Polish soccer is going to be very big, because soccer is going to unite in a given point in time. But people are still apprehensive in doing it. It was very frustrating for me. But you're correct in the assessment that obviously I don't have the time to do that. Maybe the government needs to hire me, or somebody does. But yeah, if you brought people to Poland, for instance, I took some business people to Poland, and now they're bullish on Poland because of the fact that I know so many business people, and they see it as an opportunity. Warsaw is very exciting from a business perception standpoint. We were about to bring on an investor in a gin called Highclere Castle Gin. It's produced in England, and the show Downton Abbey, which was very popular in the States and England. The owner of that castle is my partner. I'm an investor in that with other people, and we were about to launch it in Poland, but coronavirus obviously shut that down. So I think this is an opportunity for some sort of PR, or getting people the message that Poland has grown for 29 years, and maybe not this year, but if you want to bring a product to the marketplace, that's the place to do it. And from a tech standpoint, Poland Poland is way ahead of the game, you know.
So what would you advise to people who are already convinced to invest in Poland, but somehow they look for advice, how to do it, what is important, what they should think about first of all before they do so?
Well, I think it's like anything else, is that you have to go there first. For instance, you know what I'm trying to say? I think if I had an opportunity to get, if I had a good business proposition, then you'd have to budget to bring the people to Poland to experience it. They're not, it's going to be very hard for them to invest without being in Poland. Likewise, the other way, if I have something and I want to bring my idea or product to the United States, you know, I've coached some people on this already, is that you really have to come to the United States first before you, because A, it's a vast country, but you have to do your market research and be there before you can jump into it. That's
Poland as a place to invest. I'm sure that you are familiar with the Congress idea, which is to proliferate cooperation between members of the easiest way to convince people from Polonii. So not, you know, how do you? I mean, in fact, do you believe that unite around the world in a way already did?
You have to repeat your last sentence. You were breaking up.
Do you believe that Poles can somehow start cooperation between themselves around the world? I mean, 60 million of Poles, 40 millions in the country, roughly 20 million around the world, can cooperate in a way other nations already do. I mean, regarding the diaspora. I mean, I don't want to mention those nations, but we know nations are cooperating very strongly, and most do not cooperate so effectively, let's say. Okay?
Well, I think the whole concept, the idea of the 60 million Congress is brilliant, because of the fact that there is a lot of power and there is a lot of money out there. So if you look at 60 million, you're going to have, and I don't know what the numbers are, I don't know if we've looked at it, there's going to be a portion of that 60 million that don't care that they're of Polish descent. It's meaningless to them, okay? I mean, if I think about, I went to a Polish school, and at that time there were, between grades first grade to 8, there were 1,000 children in that school. Okay, out of all those children, I could tell you this. I would say 50 to 60% don't really care that they were Polish or not. Okay, so out of the 60 million, even if it's 20 million that have a serious interest in Poland, I think that the brilliant idea is to leverage technology and create maybe some funds that are out there and create so that we all could minimally invest and do some amazing things. Because the power of, say, 20 million people at $100 is pretty significant.
That's right. I think that the most effective way to bring attention towards Poland among those people you mentioned, I mean, people of Polish roots, would be just to promote Poland among them. I mean, show them how this country looks like. In fact,
you're right. I
mean, these are just usual Americans like everybody else. I mean, do not recognize Poland as a country. It is nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I took some friends 2 years ago from Tennessee. He's not even close to being Polish, and he knew nothing of the country, and now he's interested in buying an apartment in Mazurek. So you know, it has to be exposure. Obviously, this is not the time to do this, but I think that the time will come. This is a pause, but I also think the 60 million Congress it could be very serious and be very powerful, and be an amazing opportunity to get people to minimally invest and understand what we could potentially do. So I always believe in is that there has to be a reason, what's in it for me. So we have to create it. We have to create the attitude of the 60 million Congress, get enough people to feel like what's in it for me. So what can we do to make them feel it's what's in it for me? And I think that's intellectual collaboration, okay, intellectual capital sharing, and then being creative and creating maybe an investment fund that we could minimally get talented people. And I think it could be a lot of fun, but I also think it could be amazingly powerful in the long run.
I think this makes a great from the conversation, for this conversation. Peter, thank you very much for this fascinating conversation. I hope to see you in Rzeszów.
Yes.
During Global Polonii 60 million Congress.
Thank you.
23rd of, hopefully you will find time, and hopefully, there will be flights to open.
As soon as I don't have to quarantine for 14 days, I'll be on a plane and I'll be drinking wine at my friend Milzinski's wine bar. So
hopefully we will do it together again.
Yes. Thank you.
See you in Rzeszów. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.